Hey, you. I don't mean to judge, but you don't have enough stuff.
Way to rub it in, jerk.
Know where you can get stuff? We got stuff. Lots of stuff. Get the stuff you need at toxicradio.net or through the free app.
A caveman could do it.
T-shirts, hoodies, mugs, stickers, all featuring your favorite Toxic Radio shows.
Okay, literal goosebumps.
So get off your ass and get your stuff.
I don't think that kind of language is appropriate.
And get some stuff for the people in your life too, you selfish bitch.
You got yourself a deal.
Toxic Shop. Don't buy it safe. Buy it toxic. Hey everybody, 'tis the season for balls.
What?
Christmas balls, of course.
Jingle bell, jingle bell, jingle bell rock.
The Kick-Ass Christmas is back. 24/7 rockin' Christmas music from Thanksgiving all the way through Christmas. This ain't your typical Christmas music.
Santa Claus is coming.
So keep it locked on Toxic Radio all season, and we'll make your bells jingle.
Oh.
All the way. Keep your Christmas toxic with a Kick-Ass Christmas.
Enjoying all that Toxic Radio has to offer? Well, make sure you like and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Be the first to find out about ticket giveaways, amazing guests, awesome contests, and Toxic Radio events. Just search Toxic Radio Live, all one word, and press that little button. Every time you do, someone here at Toxic Radio will get their wings. Yay! Well, not really.
Oh.
But we will get a warm, fuzzy feeling in our tummies. But then again, that just might be the beer. Anyway, like and follow us, and we will see you out there on the interwebs.
Hungry for Hope Nation, your host here, Donnie Hart. And today, man, we're bringing a guest back we had on a couple weeks ago. We didn't get to finish the story, and it's a story that must be told. We're going to be telling the story of Jason Vukovich, and we're going to have his sister, Angelina, on. She's out on right now. I'm actually going to bring her on. Angelina, you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfect. Sound like you're right next to me.
Great.
How you doing,
Angelina? I
Angelina?
don't have my mic or any of that with me. It's
You don't need
an
that
hour
fancy
away from
shit.
me, and I did not take the time to go get it. So
You don't need that.
great. I'm
How you
doing
doing?
great. How are
Good?
you?
Good. Thanks for coming on again. I know last time it just wasn't enough time. We had some technical difficulties, and we just didn't have enough time to, there's so much to get into about your brother Jason's story.
Get it all out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Jason is going to be calling the studio in like 25 minutes or so.
Yeah, he got the number, right?
Yeah, he's got the number. So
All right.
that should be awesome.
So, yeah.
So do you
Want me to recap of where we were?
Yeah, I was gonna do just a recap, just if there's any other viewers that are new, don't know the story. My name is Angelina. My brother is Jason Vukovich, and he is currently serving 23 years in Seward, Alaska, at Spring Creek Correctional for assaulting 3 pedophiles. That was after being beaten and molested by his own stepfather as a child. Stepfather was actually convicted of beating and molesting him. Served 0 days in prison. He was sentenced to a 3-year suspended sentence and was actually sent back to father him. They did not take Jason out of the home, even after being a convicted child molester. They sent him back in the home. Their mother, a lot of people were like, "What? Where was the mother?" Well, the mother was there. She supported Chester, the molester. Larry Lee Fulton is his name. Through the whole thing, the church supported them, tried to dust it under the rug. It was this whole thing. So he ran away when he was 16 and didn't have an ID or a social security card or anything. His parents withheld that from him. when he tried to get it from them. And he basically, that started his life of crime, because he tried to get a job, worked for 2 weeks, couldn't get a paycheck because he didn't have a social security card or ID. So he started stealing money for food and just spiraled down this horrible life of crime. And he ended up deciding to, there were some reports of current active child molesters in Anchorage, Alaska, where he lived. And, you know, in the gangster underground community, people don't snitch on each other. They take care of the business for each other. They don't call the cops. And so he started writing down these names. He started hearing all this nasty stuff going on. And when he went to go research them, he found that majority of them were already previous offenders and were on the sex offender registry. So he went into their homes, verified who they were, slapped them around. The first guy got slapped around, second guy got punched, third guy started putting up a fight, so he got a hammer to the face. All are alive, well, living their lives. And my brother has been locked up since July of 2016. So that is a little bit of a recap of our story. Also, are you there, Donnie?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Okay. Yeah.
Jimmy,
Did I leave
you-
anything out? I mean,
Nah, basically, you know, the whole story. I think that the basics of the story is like I think I was going to ask you. Somebody actually brought the question. Do you think anything that's going on in Jason's life right now would be going on if he wasn't a victim of these crimes as a child?
well, that's really hard to say because everybody deals with things differently. For example, my older brother, Joel. So I had two brothers, Joel and Jason. They both were molested by the same man in the same room every single night. Both, but anyways, Joel ended up, you know, going on to be this successful, making hundreds of thousands of dollars, CEO of like a big cybersecurity company, you know, doing really well, living in California, nice house, that whole thing. And then Jason went the opposite, and he just spiraled down this, you know, life of crime. But what I do think is there's two groups of people who could have helped prevent where Jason is now. And number one is his parents. He had three of them. He had his mother, he had his actual father who abandoned him, and then he had a stepfather. And all three of those people either turn their back on him or are the cause of, you know, his trauma. And then the second group is going to be the people who are supposed to protect you besides your parents is the courts, the cops, the authorities. They literally were like, oh, you're molesting this guy, you're admitting to molesting this little kid. Okay, great. We're going to slap you on the wrist, give you 0 time in prison, and send you back into the home to be his father again. Like, what did they expect for this kid to do, you know? So I think that definitely, if he hadn't been molested, he would be a completely different person. If he had been molested and somebody stepped in to help him, and they did what they were supposed to do and protect this kid from being around this man any longer and getting him the help that he needed, nobody went back and checked on him, nothing. He probably would not be where he is today. He would, you know, it'd be a different story. Definitely, I believe that. So,
Yeah, when you mentioned Joel, first off, you know, people handle trauma, the same trauma I have, and you might go through the same thing. You never know how somebody's gonna handle that. And I think the big thing you said during that was, if I'm correct, Jason was in the house when his abuser returned to it, but Joel wasn't, correct? Joel was able to get out of the house because Joel was the older one, right?
yes. So what happened was Joel was a little bit older than Jason. So the molesting started when Jason was 12 and Joel was 16. Now, Joel at some point, this went on for a year. He went and he ran away with his girlfriend, stole his mom's car out of the hospital parking lot where she worked. So they reported it stolen. The cops ended up catching him and they wanted to bring him back home. And he was like, hell no, I'm not going home. Here's what's going on. And he spilled all the beans. Okay. He's a 17-year-old kid at this point. He's like telling everything, like doesn't care. Like he's about to be out of the house anyways. However, so they start this investigation and they bring Jason in for questioning. He's a 13-year-old kid who still lives with his parents. And he has the church and everybody trying to coach him, be like, you need to forgive him. And he's terrified of these people, you know? And of course, he doesn't tell the full truth. He only tells partial truths. He admits to some of it, which is why Larry ended up getting actually convicted. But he doesn't admit to all the gross details like Joel did. So Joel ends up getting put into foster care because he refused to go back to the home. But they allowed Jason to be placed back into the home. And there was no checkups. You know, they never went back to do like well checks on him. They didn't, none of that. None of that. So I definitely think he would be a completely different person.
Yeah, I just think
in my opinion, they did this.
yeah, that's why I feel like it's, if you just hear the story, when I first heard the story, you hear the story from the outside, and it's still like, you know, the people he attacked were the scum of the earth. So you're still like, oh, okay, I understand. But then when you dig deeper, I really think you need to bring up his story and why. You always ask, like, why does somebody do something? I think his why is huge. Like, how many people, he was so young, and, you know, he suffered through all this, and nobody came to help him. Nobody rescued him. And then he grew up to go, you know, hurt these people who kind of like the one who hurt him. I feel like the system's not to blame anybody, but all these circumstances led to, I think, where he is today, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I just well, and so for those of you watching who don't know, also we didn't know each other. I don't know if I went into this already, but we didn't know each other. I found him in 2017 and wrote to him, and I grew up not having the dad because he just never stayed around. And my mom passed away when I was 6, you know, like I didn't have the greatest childhood, whatever. But I had a family who fought over me and took care of me growing up. But I thought my whole life growing up that I had these 2 brothers who grew up with their mom and dad in this happy family. And I thought I had the shit end of the stick. And then when I finally find their story online and, you know, on Ancestry and find out what really happened to them, I was like, oh my God, like I had it good. You know, these guys, anyways, I just can't imagine I had one parent, she passed away when I was 6, and then I had no parents. You know, that sounds like it sucks, but he had 3 whole parents and they all screwed him over. And that I can't wrap my brain around that one, especially being a mom myself, you know?
Yeah, and so somebody was actually asking about that on your Facebook. They want to know more. So you didn't find Jason until a few years ago. How did you find him? I know you explained some of it last time. Just tell us a little more of that. I know you used the DNA and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, so basically the reason I knew about my brothers because my family told me who they were because they knew who my dad was. Brothers did not know I even existed. They had no idea what dad has been doing since they left him. So, you know, as soon as the internet came around, like I would get on, I would Google things, and I could find Gary and I could find his wife. Gary is our father, our biological father. I could find him, I could find his wife, but I could never find any evidence of the kids. And I thought that was really weird. And then, so this went on and off. Like I would go on these, like, I would get obsessed with it for a few months. And then when I wouldn't find anything, it'd fall off and all of that. But I one day, and it was November of 2017, I was scrolling through Facebook and an ad for Ancestry.com came across the Facebook page, and it was like a free 30-day trial. And I was like, I'm sure I could find my brothers in 30 days. Well, that was a rabbit hole. I was on that computer head down for 3 days, like staying up all night. Found my brothers within 3 days, and I was devastated. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe. And the fact that none of the family stepped in either, or like came to check on them or anything, just I don't understand it. So
How was that experience finding a brother? I think you talked about it a little last time, finding a brother you didn't know, and then now he's in his current situation, which we're going to talk about. It must have been wild for you.
Yes, it was very wild. It was completely surreal. Like, Jason and I have a very unique situation and relationship because of how we met and everything that's happened. So, those, because I never actually had a real sibling, like blood. You know how like twins have that, or even siblings have that intuition about each other where they can like almost read each other's minds?
Yeah.
It was really weird because Jason and I had that. I would answer the phone. I'm like, you're never gonna guess what happened. And he'll literally he'll say a joke first, but then he'll say what he really is feeling, and I'll be like, how did you know that? Like, it was insane. It was crazy. We were basically best friends after day one. I think I spent like $40 on phone calls on day one. He was like, can I call you back again? I'm like, please call me back again. Like, we just could not stop talking about everything and the family. And yeah, it was crazy. And honestly, I felt great because I was the only one out of the family, or really anybody, that even talked to him. Like, he had nobody. So, but now he's got a girlfriend, Allie. He's got, he's got friends who write him and he calls them. He's got this entire like group of people out here that support him, and it's really brightened his, given him some hope,
Hungry for hope.
So,
Yeah, let's talk about his current
mhm.
situation. How did he, whatever you want to tell us about that. We heard the trauma he went through as a child, and all this led
Mhm.
up to, I think, where he's at now. Tell us where he's at now, how that's all gone.
Yes. Okay. So, um, for those of you who don't know, first of all, this is my first experience with somebody who's incarcerated. It's not easy. It You learn as you go, and it's you there's a lot of loopholes and things that they don't allow you to do, but um and he's in a max security prison right now. So we needed to get him PTSD therapy, which they had a therapist that he was finally accepted into and was able to go to for a little bit, but she ended up quitting, and they never replaced her. So they just don't offer the PTSD therapy that he needs. Um, so we've basically had to think outside the box. So right now we literally we found a PTSD therapist. We have her number on my Securus account, so I pay for the phone calls, and he literally calls her every Friday and does these therapy sessions. And she's agreed to like record and show up at his parole hearing to, verify that he's gotten the PTSD therapy that he needs, which is huge for parole. Like, if he was diagnosed with PTSD, and he needs to be treated for that. So he's also he just got a drug assessment evaluation, and they basically said that the only drug treatment he needs is when he gets released. He needs to go to, not AA, but whatever, some sort of drug
Yeah.
group that you meet with every week, that kind of thing.
Who's telling him this? Parole, or
So that is,
who's telling him this?
well, no, parole has nothing to do with anything. This is us getting ready for parole, because he does have drug charges on his record. So they will hold that against him. Like the parole board is really tough right now in Alaska. They're not letting anybody out. So they're going to go to all the stops. It doesn't matter if he's been an angel for 10 years. They'll go back and be like, well, you popped hot for blah, blah, blah 10 years ago, and you haven't been treated for it. So you're not fit for public. That's the kind of things that they will do. So we're getting him, his drug assessment, drug treatment if he needs it, PTSD treatment. He just got accepted into, and this is huge, he just got accepted into a program where he's actually going to end up moving facilities. He's going to move to, I can't remember where it is, but it's still in Alaska, but he's going to do this 18-month treatment program. And if he graduates it, I think the statistic was 80% of inmates who graduate this program are going to get paroled. So we're doing everything. He's writing books, which they're not for sale. I know I said that last time. People were like, I want to buy these books. They're not for sale yet. They're not published yet, but yeah. So
Yeah. You mentioned.
Yeah. So the goal.
Go on.
Go ahead.
Now you just mentioned, you brought up the past drug things, and I always want to bring up. I never try to make an excuse for somebody, but we had Richard Jensen on. He went from prison to national champion wrestler. He joined you 2 weeks ago, and he said, he said that stuff like that is a direct result when somebody suffers the trauma and the PTSD, like Jason did from being a victim of child sexual abuse. So that stuff's just common when somebody goes through such a traumatic thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I don't know the statistics, so don't quote me on it. But from what I understand is that people who do get into drugs and things like that almost always have a history of some sort of trauma or PTSD or sexual abuse or, being beaten as a kid, that kind of thing. Like it goes hand in hand. So, but man, Jason is one of the most intelligent human beings I've ever met. And he has potential to do amazing things. And I really just want to give him a second chance of life, or help give him a second chance at life, because, these books that he's writing are fire. He could be out there helping, survivors, being some sort of therapist, or, just doing anything for the cause like that. That's where he belongs. And I think that if we can just convince parole to give him a second chance, that he will come out here and do amazing things. I know it.
Do you think if he was a free man, do you think his story and he'd be able to help people, maybe victims or potential victims? Do you think he would be able to do that if he was released?
Oh, absolutely. I absolutely think so. He's already currently helping survivors. I don't like to call them victims. I mean, if that's what they want to be called, that's fine. But I like to call them survivors. But absolutely, he does this to this day, every single day, writing people, calling people, giving them encouraging words and hope and all of that. Like he definitely, he knows what they're going through, and he can get on that level with them. And, he's already inspired. People message me almost daily about how his story has helped them through their trauma and, inspired them. So,
yeah,
absolutely.
So you're there when the program, he said it's an 18-month program, 80% of the people who do it get paroled?
That is what I heard. Don't quote me on that, because that is just like something Jason said. And he was like, don't quote the, percentages, because I don't know.
A good percentage, put it that way.
This is what I was told. And I was just like, I remember when he called me to tell me that he got accepted into this program and told me that. I think I actually posted like a TikTok about it, how I felt, because all the work we've been doing and all the fighting and the PTSD therapy and everything, I felt a negative energy around his parole hearing. ever since I knew about it, and I would never verbalize it. Of course, I'm not going to come out and say, I honestly don't think you're going to get parole. I'm not going to say that, but that's how I felt. But as soon as I heard he was getting into this program, like there was a switch that flipped. And it was just like, all of a sudden I was like, I know he's going to get out. Like I have a positive vibe around it. And it's just like, when you know. So anyways, I felt great about that because I don't think there's anything more that we could be doing for him to get out. So
Yeah, his story.
like we're doing more than most. Like we're going around the systems. His drug assessment analysis, we actually went out of our way to pay for not the one that the prison offers because he was going to be on a waiting list for like a year and a half for that. So we're like going above and beyond, and so yeah, have high hopes.
Yeah, you mentioned how smart he was. That was the first thing I noticed when I talked to him. Like somebody who suffered everything he suffered came from just his dad abandoned him. Then the stepfather who adopted him was his abuser. The court system didn't help him out, and they just let him be a victim. His mom wasn't there. He had nobody there. He suffered such a horrible childhood. And I didn't expect him to be so wise and so smart. You can tell he's lived a life way beyond his years. What's one thing people read in the newspapers and all that stuff? What's one thing you think somebody might not know about Jason that they should know? Besides, he's real smart. We got that one.
He's extremely spiritual. So like he's read every religious book out there. He's gone through them all. He's extremely just very spiritual and connected to everything out there. And if he knows, he will read you what kind of level you are. Like if you are at that same kind of spiritual or intellectual level, he will know it, and he will talk to you like it, and he will treat you like that. But he also knows how to relate to people who are not that way, who are not at that level. And so that was super, super fascinating to me about him, about how he can, adjust his personality to match the vibe of the other person. So
yeah. I think all this stuff he went through kind of built him. I think I talked to him about it, and sometimes maybe he had to be that person to suffer through all this trauma and all these horrible things because they knew he was wise enough, he was strong enough to survive. And then other people in the future who might have not been as strong as him, he could be there for them to help these people, these victims or survivors. And, sometimes it's the bigger picture. I know I might not look at it when you're sitting in jail doing 23 years for beating up some, pedophiles, but sometimes the bigger picture, maybe something bigger than us, they need him, and he can be the voice. You guys both can be advocates and the voice for the voiceless.
Yes, and and a lot of people are like, because majority, I would say 95% of the population out there who knows about Jason's case are all in full support, think he's a hero, this whole thing. But then you get those few who are like, you can't be a vigilante, that doesn't work, stop hailing your brother as a hero. And I always tell everybody, I've never one time said my brother was a hero. You guys can think he's a hero. That is fine. I've never said that. My biggest issue is the fact of what he went through, the lack of help that he received, the fact that he was placed back into the home with his molester after the molester was convicted. Nobody went back to check on him. And then later on, he assaults 3 pedophiles. Yes, he's got a little bit of a record before that, but he assaults 3 pedophiles. And they put him away for 23 years. It was actually 28 with 5 suspended. And the fact that his molester, who has verbally admitted to molesting him, was sentenced to 3 years suspended, which means not a single day in prison. That is mind-blowing to me. And that is my biggest issue. I don't think he's not guilty. I think he's guilty. Did he break the law? Absolutely. Should he have done it because he's my loved one? I say no. I don't think he should have done it. But my biggest issue is the sentence. They needed his help, or he needed their help, and he still needs their help. And instead, they condemned him to 23 years in a prison that's going to give him no help, and he's just it's going to ruin him. And I don't think that's fair. So that's my biggest argument. And I want to give him a second chance. So
Yeah, that's the thing about Jason. Would you say he's remorseful for these crimes against these pedophiles?
yes.
I think that's what
I
people
mean-
don't really understand. You know, he did what he was
Yes.
almost forced into this situation to assault these scumbags, and he didn't want to be. You could just tell talking to him, he didn't want to be in this situation. The system fouled him.
Yeah.
He survived through all this abuse. And, yeah, it was wrong what he did. But if you really look in, people who say, try to bash him, if you really look into the case, I think you can understand.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully nobody ever has to go through what he went through. But you can almost understand somebody going through that, getting to where he got. He might have went to the extreme, but we don't know what somebody goes through when they suffer that trauma of being an abuse
he's very
victim.
passionate
everything
about
else.
children. He's very passionate about children, and if you're messing with little kids, like, he is not down with that. And he was a gangster. He was a thug at the time. So that was his way of taking care of the issue. Well, now that, everything else has happened, he's in prison, and we've got all these, we're trying to get a story out there. I'm hoping that he can get into the same industry, helping these same kids, but doing it legally. That is the goal, is just help these kids, but do it legally.
And if he helps if he helps these kids, they don't have to grow up and do the things he did, because they can get the help, they can find out, and they can try to get
Exactly.
justice for them too. I'm sure he can help bring awareness to these victims, and people want to give them justice. The court system will have to really, do something to these abusers. And I think
Yes, and I mean, they've ruined their entire lives. Like, these pedophiles have ruined these kids' entire lives. They've changed their entire being by what they did to them. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not a small, oh, I punched him in the face, he got a black eye, or, we got into a physical fight and I broke the fool's arm. This is psychological damage for the rest of their life. So it blows my mind how little these, sex offenders actually, get as far as sentencing. I don't understand it, and how Jason has 23 years. So,
what do you think? We know what Jason can do. Jason, people always listen. I feel like listen to people who went through stuff they went through. So I feel like he's the perfect person to help these people. What, besides Jason, what do you think the justice system can do to protect these children and these victims of abuse that they obviously didn't do to Jason? And you think there needs to be some kind of change in the justice system for that, or?
the first thing they need to be doing is making sure that these offenders are sentenced, like, to the max. Like, they don't need to be sitting and going through 18 months of, county or whatever, and then getting out on probation. And let me just set the example for you. One of the men, he has, he was busted for breaking and entering and beating this guy and stealing from him. He had a charge. The reason why he was on the sex offender registry list was for child pornography. And he sat there, and there were two witnesses. I've actually interviewed one of these girls. He sat there and was like, no, that's not me. That was 10 years ago. I'm not like that anymore. Well, the whole reason Jason was there was because he heard that was not the case, that he was not cured, and that he was continuing to still do the stuff that he shouldn't be doing. So he swore up and down as Jason slapped the guy around, and these girls, started rummaging through this man's apartment. And she said, "I'll never forget it, Angelina." She said, "I went to his closet where there was a bunch of flannel shirts hanging on hangers. And I reached over so I could slide them over so I could look into the closet. I slid it over, and there was a wall full of child pornography." She was like, "It was like a movie. It was like from a movie scene. It was horrific." And obviously the guy was not cured or was not punished enough, because he's still out here doing it. He just knows how to be more secretive about it. And I don't think pedophiles can be cured, to be honest. In my opinion, I just don't.
Me either, Angelina. Me either. And Jason knew firsthand. I think that's a big part of his story too. He wasn't just a victim. He was a victim by his abuser, not a victim, a survivor. He didn't just suffer that through his abuser. The court system also, when they found him guilty, but they put the abuser back in the same house as a child who was abused by him already.
Why
and then
would you do this?
Yeah, I think that's a huge key of this story, because he knows that the justice system doesn't take care of these people. Maybe that's why he felt like he had to do what they
making better decisions is what needs to happen. Like, we need to stop letting them get away with, "Oh, slap on the wrist. Here, go be a dad to this kid you molested again." How does that even? Allie's calling me.
Yeah, we tried to get him in. I don't know what's going on. They're having problems getting him on the.
They're having issues. Hold on, let me.
Yeah, maybe tell him to call again. See, what's going on, Eddie? No.
He's calling right now.
Yeah, I'm in the dark. I don't know. They're not telling me. Tell him to call.
Are they getting his calls over there?
You getting the call, James? What's going on? Trying to find out.
No, he doesn't need to call me. My phone never rings.
Hey, what's up, James?
What's the number to the studio? Do you want to text it to me?
You want the number right now, Angelina?
Yeah.
856?
856.
485?
485.
9565?
9565.
9565.
Line with him right now. Hold on. I'm gonna make sure that number is on my account really quick.
Yeah, we're trying to get Jason to tell his story a little bit. We've talked to him, interviewed him a little. He's currently incarcerated.
Yeah, I'm getting a message here, something about the number needs to be registered.
What's the number? 856-485-9565?
Yep.
856-485-9565. So it's already on the Securus line. So whenever you answer that number, does it give you an option to push 1?
It's an automated service, so I don't really see anything or hear anything from the other end. But as soon as it comes in, I can try it.
Okay.
All right. Well,
yeah. So the automated service, you have to listen to it, and it'll be like, "You're going to be recorded. This is and then eventually it'll be like push 1 to connect the call."
Yeah. If we can have him call it again, we'll give it another shot.
Yeah, Jason's
he's
currently
gonna call again.
He's incarcerated. He's in maximum security in Alaska, doing 23 years for what Angelina just talked about. What we mentioned, he was convicted of assaulting three pedophiles after being a survivor of abuse as a child too, at the hands of his adoptive father. So right now they're fighting to try to get him the justice he deserves, the justice he never got as a child. 23 years is a lot of people just thinks way out of line, is way too much time. You know, he's remorseful. He's not out there trying to do this again. He wants to help victims. And, you know, I feel like if he gets free, and a lot of other people feel like if he gets free, he can help so many victims. So that's kind of the fight, free justice, or free Justin Vukovich fight that Angelina's
free Jason
been.
Vukovich, or justice for Jason. I know
Justice
it gets
for Jason,
confusing
yeah.
because we have a lot of J's.
That's a campaign you kind of been fighting for. Tell us how you started really getting behind that. How you started this campaign, what really got you motivated.
Funny. Yeah, so it's funny, the story, because I had already known my brother for I don't know, like a year or two. We'd been talking every day. And I'd known he had been on the news years before, whenever he first got caught, whatever, but we didn't start any campaign. However, there was a big Facebook page, a pretty large Facebook page, that posted a meme about him, and a couple of my friends started tagging me in it because they had seen my stories on Facebook about me and Jason and meeting him for the first time. So they were like, oh, they're posting about your brother and tagging me. And so the owner of the page ended up tagging me, and there was just a bunch of people asking, how do we donate to his commissary? Which, if everybody, it's very difficult to add money to his commissary because you have to pass the background check. You have to get added to the visitors list. Like, there's a whole process to be even able to add money. And then you have to mail in a money order or a MoneyGram, like a check. Anyway, so people were asking, and I was like, Jason. So Jason called me, and I was like, listen, you're going viral again. Like, your story's going viral. And there's a ton of people asking how to donate, or how to donate money to your commissary, or how to help. Like, what do you think we should do? And he was like, we're probably going to need to hire an attorney to help prepare me for the parole hearing. Why don't we set up some sort of GoFundMe or PayPal or whatever for that, and just post that link when somebody asks? And I was like, that's a pretty good, genius idea. And then it just blew up from there. It blew up. So I had no idea that this was not the plan for me to be this social media advocate for my brother. I mean, it just ended up falling into my lap that way, and it went. I'll never forget, I had spent 10 hours the first Saturday after everything went crazy. Me and my kids, I had my kids helping to respond to messages because I had so many messages. It was crazy. So, but we've kind of ran with it, and it's been doing pretty well. So it's really about raising awareness.
Yeah, I feel like the more people hear this story, the more they want justice for them, the more they want to do something to help them. During this campaign, what are some of the resources or people that have helped you and Jason during this? Anybody you want to, shout out to? Anybody that you can tell us helped you?
Oh my gosh, yes. First of all, you guys, thank you for putting us out there. We've had numerous different podcasts that have helped. Jack Luna from Dark Topic podcast, he literally paid for Jason's PTSD therapy, which is not cheap. It's over $1,000 a month for 1 hour every Friday. It's very expensive. And he's paid for that up through the end of January. He can't pay for it after that. So we're still looking for help with that. If anybody is feeling froggy and wants to help, help with the PTSD therapy, because we need him to have PTSD therapy basically up until July 2023, which is when he gets out. So, but those guys.
Hey, I think we got Jason. Big ups to the producers. What's up, Jason? How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Good, man. Thanks for calling, man. Your story.
For sure.
We got Angelina too. I was talking to Angelina. Just about your story, man. It's amazing.
Yeah. I thought I recognized the voice of that little rug rat.
Hello. Love you.
Hi. Yeah. That's my little baby sis right there for sure.
Yeah, man. How's it feel to have a sister who's fighting for you, who's just behind you 100%, who's doing everything they can to bring justice to you.
She's a beast. She's an absolute beast. Fortunately, she's much better looking than I am, so that's a big help. And, I'll tell you this, like, sincerely, before I had her, I had absolutely nothing in my life. So she's basically gone out there and done all of the heavy lifting, has basically been the catalyst for all kinds of little amazing and big opportunities in my life. So it's been pretty humbling, to be real with you. It's been really humbling. Like, it's not something I was used to. So somehow the universe delivered to me an amazing, you know what I mean, mildly disabled but gorgeous little sister. And she's made it happen, so anyway.
Mildly
yeah,
I'm blessed.
I love that. That was one of the things that really drew me to it. I shared with Angelina, I had a brother, and he died mysteriously, and when that happened, I was trying to get the answers, and I was fighting. It was a big national story, and that's why I kind of connected with how she's fighting for you, and you didn't really have a voice because you're away right now, you're incarcerated, kind of like how my brother, he passed away. So I really respected seeing her fight, and she's brought so much recognition to your case, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. Well, rest in peace to your brother. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I will tell you this, that
I read that whole
both of our
story,
lives,
Donnie,
I
and
think,
it was.
What are you saying, Jay?
But I was going to say, I think both of our lives have dramatically changed. And it was kind of funny because I remember when I was here in prison doing prison time, and I got just a mysterious second-day air envelope in the mail, and there was 2 envelopes in it. And one of them said, "Read me first," and then the other one was like a package of pictures, right? So I noticed that it was from some chick in Texas, so I'm like, "Oh shit, I got to see the cute girl from Texas is writing to me," and I started looking in there, and I'm like, "Damn, she's pretty cute." And then I opened the letter, and it's like the first paragraph is, "I am your long lost sister," and it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, "Oh my God, what? This is my sister?" You know what I mean? And she and I have just been fast friends ever since. So for better or for worse, fast friends for sure. Every day, all day.
It's crazy how the world works. I think I was talking to you about it. We were just mentioning, like, do you feel like everything that's happening to you, everything you've been through, all the trauma, all this stuff that's been thrown your way, and you're still standing tall, you're still fighting, now you have a sister. Do you think maybe something bigger, maybe it happened all for a reason, because maybe you can be this person who helps other people? You can use your lowest moments to be, to help you go to your highest moments and help these victims?
So, what's really strange about the whole thing, and I mean strange in a very connected sort of way, is that obviously I cannot go back and change anything. And I mean, I'm to the stage in life where these opportunities have presented themselves, so now I'm to the place where I could say I would not go back and change anything. And that's not to say that every choice that I've made along the way was perfect or correct. There are some choices that I probably should have done differently or altered in some way. But that is to say that you're right. The sum total of these experiences has led me here. And I mean, oftentimes, I mean, trust me, this experience is mixed up with all kinds of sorrow and loss and loneliness and things like that. But really, truly, now I'm at a place in life where there is never a day where I sit up in the morning and I'm like, I wish I hadn't made the choices I made. Now I'm to the stage where I'm like, man, I cannot believe the opportunities that are opening up as a result of this path. It's amazing. It really
Everything that's happened. So,
yeah, like I always said,
it's a lot.
I don't have a time machine. I looked for one. I could never find one. I fought for so long trying to go back and changing stuff in my life, and then I just realized the next best thing I could do is use them things, use these unique experiences, these traumatic experiences, to do something bigger than me. And I feel like that's what you're doing. There's so many people who, there's a justice system that's broken. That's not helping these people, these survivors. And I think they need people. They relate to people like you.
Yeah, it's true. And I mean, really, truly, one of the biggest takeaways came from the ocean of letters that came in. And for the most part, these were just people who had been silent most of their lives regarding whatever sort of abuse they suffered as kids or as teenagers. And they sort of poured it all out in various letters. And I mean, hundreds of them, bro. And the thing that really struck me is
honestly.
that, yeah, thousands, a lot. What struck me is that we constitute something of a large dysfunctional family, and there is an ocean of us that have survived this sort of thing. And isolationism is one of the primary symptoms of childhood abuse, and that's something that you have to shake off at some point. You have to, because when you look around and you really realize, I promise you, we together are much bigger than any of the flawed systems that are in place. Together, we're much larger than any of the people that have victimized kids. There's more of us. I promise you, there's an ocean of us. So the more that this comes out into the forefront and people speak openly on it, and people learn that there's others just like you, then the less opportunity there will be for people to victimize kids. And that's just how that works, you know. So for better or for worse, you know, whatever I did, went out and socked some in the face or whatever it was I did, that's one thing. But the other thing is that there's, you know, at the end of this whole trail, I realized, man, I'm not alone. And I genuinely felt like I was running this marathon by myself up until the last 2 years. And that's kind of sad. I'm 46 years old, you know, and I really thought I was completely alone.
Well, and to add to that, Jason, like, so I'm just going to come out and I've never been sexually molested or anything like that. Like, I'm not a part of that family. You know what I'm saying? And whenever all of this started happening and I started getting these hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of messages in my inbox from like men, women, kids with detailed stories, I had no idea how big and bad of a problem this actually was and is still. Like, I had no idea. Like, I was completely clueless, and it blew me away. Like, I'm like, why are more people not talking about this problem, you know? And so I know where you're at, Jason, on that, because I was
sadly, kids are still open season. That's how it is. And people that ride, you know, whether you call yourself a moral vigilante or whatever other term is applied to you, if you ride for kids, trust me, the system is right there to meet you and smash you out at every single corner. And I mean at every turn, the system is there to analyze you and tell you why you continue to be a horrible human being. And I've experienced that as well. I'm still experiencing that now. So that's the big thing. That's the main thing I would communicate to anybody is just know you're not alone. There's a whole bunch of us. There's nothing shameful in talking about what has happened to you, because you'll find others like you. And then the other thing, too, is if you have the chance, you know, you need to be aware of your surroundings and your community, and you need to pay attention to what's going on around you. Kids give you signs and signals. They just do. And that doesn't mean you have to go sock people in the face or commit crimes. But you do have to be aware and pay attention to kids and how they behave, because the chances are your little neighbor kid might need you. He might need you to stand up for him. He might need you to pay attention. And I've noticed that people are so busy that they just look right past people that are not in their immediate circle. And we have to be community-oriented and community-aware. It's a big deal. So when I was a little kid, nobody cared, nobody asked, and the people that did know didn't want to know. You know, that's how they did it. So it shouldn't be that way.
Yep. And honestly, after hearing, you know, all of these other people's stories, that's not uncommon for these families to be like, hush, hush, dust under the rug, don't tell anybody else. And I don't understand that. Like, why?
Yeah. I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure there's a number of reasons for it, but it just confuses the issue for a little kid because then you grow up in the midst, you know, for lack of a better term, you grow up in the midst of a mind fuck, and you don't know what's right or what's wrong or who's good or who's bad, and that leads into all kinds of other poor choices and lack of a proper moral code and stuff like that. It just blossoms into all kinds of other things. So I really think, you know, some of the issue of crime and people breaking the law in general and drug addiction and all of that stuff has a root in kids not being properly secure or safe in their upbringing. I really genuinely believe that wholeheartly. So
Absolutely, yeah.
Mainly because I've lived it. You know what I mean? So that's where I'm at on that. And I mean, you know, as far as to my own personal actions or whatever I did to end up here, you know, I suppose if somebody would have booted the door in and beat the brakes off the guy that was molesting me when I was a little kid, I would have given a small cheer and believed in good things in this universe. So if nothing else, if I was able to be that for somebody else, some other kid somewhere, then I mean, worth it. Sadly, worth it. So
I've actually gotten a message from somebody, from someone who he assaulted their molester, and you know they want to remain anonymous, but like changed her life. Like, thank you. Like, anyways.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, just
it's
people
a big
knowing.
deal, just to,
Yeah. I feel like just people knowing that there's someone out there that's willing to fight for them. Like, you don't have to do that anymore. You did that, but I feel like since you've been arrested for that, I feel just from what I've seen, you're completely different, man. You learned a lot, man, from this experience, and now you can use that experience to help these people. When you feel alone, like you said, you felt like you were the only person going through this. Having somebody like you who they can relate to, because you went through what they're going through, and they're like, oh, this guy's going to stand up. He's willing to do that for me. I think that can change somebody's life.
Yeah. It's really.
You have 1 minute left.
Yeah, it's been very strange. Like, I've had people send me letters, and they talk about how, you know, suffering from PTSD when they can't sleep at night. They just imagine someone like myself coming in and manhandling the person that assaulted them or something, and it comforts them. It's all been very strange. So even in small ways like
and
that.
some of them like will go back to where then they imagine they're a little kid and that you're the hero. Like, it's so weird.
We're about to lose you. Before anything you want to, anybody listening, anything you want to leave the people with, man. And thanks so much for talking to us. You're the man. We're gonna keep on fighting for you till the wheels fall off.
Appreciate it. Yeah, appreciate you, man. Just you know, let everybody know that there are people out there that care, and there are people out there that will stand up for you. And just make sure you pay attention to the little ones that are around you in your neighborhood, in your community. It's a big deal. One of them might need you, so. You know what I mean? Just don't be too busy that you don't see the little ones.
Thank you for using Securus. Goodbye.
See you, brother. Hey, that was cool, man.
Yeah.
That time goes so quick, don't it?
Yeah, it does. Every time.
Yeah, that was awesome. Anybody listen who wants to keep on, you know, we're about to get out of here, that wants to find out more, we're going to post some stuff. Where can they just tell us again where they can find you, where they can, if they want to donate, write them. I'm going to post a lot of this stuff too, but where can they go?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I have a Linktree link that has, oh my gosh, it has everything. It has how to write him, it has, you know, if you want to add music credits to his whatever. It has instruction videos on all kinds of stuff. Like, it has everything. It has a petition you can sign. It's the Linktree link that I have in all of my bios. So if you want to post that.
Yeah, I'll post all that. And they can also go to the Instagram, Justice for Jason Vukovich, the Free Jason Facebook page, all that stuff. I think you're on TikTok.
Yep. Yeah, we're on TikTok, we're on IG, we're on Facebook. So we're even on Twitter, but I don't get on there very often. Twitter's kind of a pain in the ass.
It was great to have you again. Anything you want to leave the people with? We got to talk a little more on the story. We had Jason on. I think we covered a lot, man. Just got to keep on bringing a spotlight to the story.
The only thing I want to say, honestly, is just talk to your kids. Make sure they know. Teach your kids. You know, they have these books that you can, you know, they're They're books that you can literally order off of Amazon and teach your kids about, educate your kids about the situation. Because if they're not educated and they get into a situation, they're just going to try to trust the adult, and they're going to try to keep it a secret. And that's not okay. So just teach your kids, educate them, protect them. That's it.
Thank you so much, Angelina. It was awesome to talk to Jason. I'm going to post that link tree, everything. Thanks for everybody who tuned in. Thanks again. Everything you're doing is amazing, Angelina. It's great to see you fight for somebody who really needs you and deserves you. And thanks for joining us again.
Thanks, Donnie.
No problem. We're going to get out of here. Thank you, everybody who listened. Hungry for Hope Nation. We will see you next week. Have a great Christmas. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Whatever you say nowadays. See you.